I have a lot of things I want to get off my chest.
Well, enough is enough, and it's time for a change.
Finally, The Rock has come back. I hate this idea that you're the best.
And if you're not down with that, we got two words for ya!
I'm the best in the world.
I fight at WrestleMania for the very, very small percentage of people that walk this planet and say I am proud to be, I'm sorry, a professional wrestler.
Oops, I'm breaking the fourth wall.
It's Podcast of the Immortals with your hosts, Matt Bush and Jimmy Bellamy.
All right, welcome to episode 14, I believe.
14, yes.
Right around 14.
It's 14.
Okay, episode
we had lucky
14
13 last week.
Of Podcast of the Immortals. I'm your host, Matt Bush.
I'm Jimmy Bellamy.
And we have a great show for you today, as always. Like Conan O'Brien always says, you know, all the other shows are crap. Tonight is the best. We have the Raw recap from the Go Home show for Extreme Rules. We're also going to preview the Extreme Rules pay-per-view, which looks like a pretty good card. And then we have a new segment. It's Predictions Sure to Go Wrong. I'm sure I've stolen that from someone else. But we're going to do it, and we're gonna predict an angle, and we're going to fantasy booking at its best, and ridiculous crap's going to happen, and it will never happen on WWE TV, so that's why it's sure to go wrong. So we'll get right into Raw. And we were live from Oklahoma. Tulsa, Oklahoma. And it began with a dance-off on this wrestling show. Again, another week with dancing. What do you think?
Well, they had a lot of gimmicks. With the whole Henry Sheamus thing, they've had gimmicks throughout that one. And with this one, it was sure to happen. I knew as soon as Jericho feuded with Fandango that there would be some kind of dancing element involved because of Jericho's previous experience through Dancing with the Stars. What surprised me here was that they would have a professional dancer come in as Jericho's partner.
Hot.
And they wouldn't dance at all.
Yeah.
They didn't dance.
There was no dancing in this dance off. But then you had another match later on with Sweet Tea and Brodus Clay, and there was dancing.
Well, as long as those two dance, that's okay.
Yeah.
No, in all seriousness though, they even had the parquet floor out on top of the ring, and they didn't even dance. Although that came into play later in that encounter.
Exactly. And Jericho's hot chick, I found her on Twitter because I was for science, you know.
Did you creep? Did you?
It was for science. There's no creeping in science. Her name is
most of science is creepy.
Her name is Edita Slawinska. I don't know if you can pronounce that better than me.
They kept calling her Edita, but I want to say Edita.
It's Eastern European,
Edita
probably.
Slawinska?
Yeah.
Or it's probably Slavinska.
Yeah.
Because they pronounce W's with the V sound.
But holy crap, she was looking good. Not as good as my girlfriend, who might listen to the show as well, but she's almost as hot as my girlfriend.
My girlfriend doesn't listen to this show.
Okay, good. So what do you think?
I'm not saying that's an excuse for me to be creepy. I'm saying she doesn't listen. She doesn't love me. No, she loves me dearly. But
just in case she might listen.
She's not a huge wrestling fan.
Yeah, that's fine. Not everyone can be as lucky as me. Aww. So, Summer Rae was out there again, which was another nice surprise, and she turned her ankle during the Fandango dance, and turns out she was playing possum the whole time. Fandango used it to attack Jericho, and he actually ended up hitting him with part of the dance floor, and you got the better of him pretty sneaky by Fandango.
Classic go-home show. With the pay-per-view Sunday, give the upper hand to Fandango. That will make Jericho's victory much more satisfying, getting revenge for the WrestleMania loss. They were really playing up that WrestleMania victory a lot, saying that it was called the greatest upset in WrestleMania
JBL liked to say that about 5 times a night.
He also said he's the world's best dancer. Fandango's the world's best dancer.
He hasn't danced at all. He just stands there in his pose.
I think that's part of the deal.
Yeah.
Although I did notice he was completely clean shaven on his face.
Oh.
Like he used to have that. He usually has that 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah.
And at first, I'm like, what's different about him? And he decided.
I didn't notice Fandango. To be honest, I was looking at Ilya Shliva.
Oh, jeez, dude! It's like you're acting like she's the first woman to ever appear on WWE television.
She was. My girlfriend texted me. She's like, "Damn!"
Right now, Matt was doing the the Italian scusi. Like,
yes.
That's what when he started talking about that lady. He couldn't help it. That's what he's doing.
It's just too good to not appreciate the beauty.
Like you're having a conversation with a hand puppet.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing right now.
Well, the puppet knows. You should know too.
He's saying, "But Matt, I know." And he talks more.
There was a "You Can't Dance" chant that started. Sick burn on Fandango, and I don't know, just kind of is what it is, I guess.
They've started flat. A lot of these shows, it's either been a Cena promo, something completely wacky, or I think they just have like a Randy Orton match to start the show. And I remember, and I mean maybe it's because they have the 3-hour Raw now, but I remember the kickoff to Raw always being that first boost of yeah. But maybe they figure now if they start at the first of 3 hours with this gigantic burst of excitement that the crowd will come down or get too tired. I'm sure they have something figured out in their heads. But to me, as somebody who's a devoted watcher of the program, especially pre 3 hours, I want that start to be worth sticking around the entire show for, and lately it hasn't been at all. And in fact, I've been DVRing it and starting halfway through so that way I can skip commercials.
Yeah, and some of the
the sponsors love that.
Yeah. What I wish they would do is the first hour, and Nitro I believe used to do this, they had the cruiserweight division in the first hour.
Yeah.
Then the big guys would come out for the last 2 hours. They could really spotlight, guys like Sin Cara coming back, Yoshitatsu and Tony Cesaro. Put on good matches. It doesn't have to be all storyline built. It can just be a good match.
Yeah.
And showcase these guys a little bit.
You mentioned that a few weeks ago, and I think you're right, where they could have it be a glorified Superstars episode for that first hour, which I want to see. I want to see the wrestling. I want to see guys I'm not seeing, instead of seeing recaps of what just happened, or recaps of what happened last week, or what happened 2 weeks ago, and seeing what people think about it on Tout, and talking about the WWE app, which now they're having interviews on the WWE app during the show.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this, I enjoy Twitter. I might even go as far as saying I love it. But I'm starting to get on that downswing of multitasking during a program and going back to just watching the program instead of figuring out what other people think about it as it's going on, or trying to think of something witty to post while watching. I don't feel like doing that anymore. I just want to watch it in peace and sit still, and that's what I've been doing lately. But they keep on force feeding this stuff, and I think eventually they'll get the picture once it's dead and buried. Not that social media is going to be dead and buried, but that they start
figure it out.
They'll kind of get away from the ADD thing. Right now it looks like you're watching Bloomberg. You have stock things on one side and other screens and little windows of people on the other. It's just give me the match. I don't need to go anywhere else. I just want to watch your program. And I can't imagine, unless they cut a check to USA or to the sponsors, I can't imagine that they enjoy hearing that. And I know it's kind of going backwards, where I shouldn't care what the sponsors think, and I've been saying all along, TV ratings and the way everything works now, it's outdated. But I can't imagine they like that, saying, hey, tune in, go to our app. While the commercials,
are going on. Don't watch what our sponsors are trying to sell you. Yeah, I completely agree. We did have our first match on Raw between Ryback and Zack Ryder at 7:27, so we were 27 minutes into the show before our first match, and it lasted a whole minute.
This is our 14th episode, as you stated a few minutes ago. You should know me enough by now to know what my highlight of that match was. The photograph should tell you. The photograph he's looking at right now.
Yeah. I don't know. The no headband?
Zack Ryder's wearing pants.
Oh, yeah, the long pants.
Yeah.
Instead of he's gone back to his roots.
I'm so outfit centric.
I know. I was thinking he didn't have the headband anymore.
That's true. That's a good point. He's been wearing the hair a little differently. Mm-hmm. If they can do something with him, and I know right now he's getting TV time. He's the squashy in these matches, but I could see it coming to an angle where he's. It's not quite the guy who's in a losing streak or sick of losing, where like they've done with Swagger and Sheamus and MVP and countless others. But maybe it's hey, he needs to change things up, or he's going to start getting lucky and winning certain matches. I hope they do something like that, and it's not just that, we need a guy to lose to the guy we're pumping up this month. Let's put Zack Ryder in.
He should start coming out in like full on like Ric Flair suits, just completely 180, from where he was, to be like more corporate, or I don't, just something different, because it's not going to work, bro. Well, the Huskies aren't going to hold you up for as long as you think,
I'd like to see that in a way where he says, I'm done playing games, and I'm done. Or something like, I know you want me to fail, you as in WWE, but I'm not going to. I refuse to, and here's how I'm going to do it. I don't know.
I wish they'd let him loose, and he's been going on tirades on Twitter, which is not really censored through WWE writing. I wish they could give his character that edge. Why not have him come out and be like, I'm sick of being disrespected. I have more Twitter followers than Y2J, and you don't put me on your list when you show the top Twitter guys. What do I gotta do? You know what? You just go out there and cut a CM Punk, I'm sick of this shit promo.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
And the biggest travesty is he 2 and 2.5 years ago, he was the first person to take advantage of social media. And WWE is they're giving him the Benoit treatment right now, acting as if he doesn't exist. Yeah. I mean, they push Twitter, they push Tout. I mean, are they still pushing Tout? I haven't seen it in recent weeks.
Yes and no.
But they act like Zack Ryder never happened, because he did it by himself, and he had nothing. He had no help from them. And now they're ignoring it, like, oh yeah, we were totally into this thing from the beginning. Yeah. And they give him no credit. And if I were him, I would bring that up and say, you've shut me out completely. I was the one who brought all of this to your attention. I'm the reason you got all these eyes on your product, and people talking about you, and getting names trending. And I was the one who did that. And if he could turn it around and say, well, now, like, Mark Henry has the Hall of Pain. Maybe he'll say, I'll make you trend, and that'll be his next victim.
That could be his new finisher.
That would be, that'll be his guy. That'll be his guy. His
or
victim
the
will be the guy he makes trend each week is his victim. But
here comes the hashtag.
I mean, I don't know. Oh my God, the @reply.
Yeah. My God, he's been tagged.
That would be bad.
Yeah.
That not a retweet.
No, God. Someone stop this man. He's retweeting everybody.
By God. So everybody has a shitty JR impression. Yeah, I love it. I love it.
It's a go-to. For impersonation. We had another match right after that. Tons of Funk, who came out and started dancing. They cut back from commercial and they were dancing. I'm like, oh great, just what we need, more dancing. Well, it actually helped, because we didn't have any dancing in the dance competition. They faced the Primetime Players, which I was really surprised. I didn't know that they were going to put these two teams, and the Primetime Players actually won,
which is good.
Yeah, and I was completely shocked by it. They've been pushing Tons of Funk. Tons of Funk had had victories over Cody Rhodes and Sandow. But PTP getting some time, and was it Darren Young?
Getting the pin, yeah. No, Titus Young got the Titus O'Neil. Titus Young, that's the football player. The ex-football player. He had the pick. Darren Young had the pick.
Yeah, and then they picked up the win.
That took them long enough to use the pick as a foreign object, and I kept thinking about
us.
that, I mean, we had the pick, we had the parquet floor. I mean, all of these foreign objects were being utilized. And and the strap.
The strap.
I mean, it was a foreign object, and it was a foreign object, heavy Raw. And I thought that somebody must have seen that list. Somebody creative. I know you're paying attention to us.
Actually, one of our listeners, his name is Scott. I'm going to mess this up, so I apologize. Wasaki? Soki?
Wasaki? Let me see. Let me look. Let me see if
he tweeted us.
Yeah, that's Scott Wasaki.
Wasaki. He had two other foreign objects that he thought should have been on the list: the prosthetic leg and the scepter.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and we totally spaced on those.
That's
right.
Those are
good too.
Macho Man's scepter, King Booker, and then the Zach Gowen's prosthetic leg.
I would assume so. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Great job, Scott.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you for that.
Thanks for listening, too. They picked up the win. Maybe we're seeing the start of a new feud with PTP and the Tons of Funk. I think that'd be kind of fun, actually.
I like it because, if anything, it elevates the tag division. They have, I mean, how many times do we have to go over it? They have enough tag teams. You can say what you want about some of the individual performers and wrestlers, but they have the Colognes with Rosa. They have the Usos. They have the Primetime Players. Tons of Funk with the Funkadactyls. They have the Rhodes Scholars. Team Hell No. The Shield. I mean, that right there, that's 7 tag teams.
Brothers of Destruction.
If you want. I mean, Undertaker's very part-time. And you have Ziggy and Big E. That's 9. I mean, granted, we'll say 8 because Kane's in a tag team and Undertaker's. And you could easily make a 10th tag team by just giving Big Show somebody they usually do, or throwing Kofi Kingston with somebody because Evan Bourne's still under contract. I mean,
he actually fought recently. He just came back.
Okay, reunite
dark shows or something, house shows. So it would be interesting, and
that's a good
I like
tag
PTP.
division.
I love the Primetime Players. Actually, I think they have a lot of charisma. They're pretty good in the ring, good size.
I think Titus O'Neil has come a long way on the mic. I mean, he's still kind of goofy and trips over himself, but he's come a long way on the mic. He still has a ways to go when it comes to in the ring. I mean, even the way after the match the way he exited the ring looked a little sloppy. Yeah. But I like him. I love Rufus Pancake Patterson.
I love
it's Rufus, right?
I loved when he was on...
Not to be confused with Ruben Patterson, the former NBA star.
I loved when he was on the mic that one time with the King. They're talking about wash rags. I almost made a sign for WrestleMania that said wash rag or hashtag wash rag or something. After the match, we had a Teddy Long announcement concerning Dolph Ziggler and his concussion. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, Ziggler will not be able to perform at Extreme Rules. He actually had some memory loss, so that's really bad.
And did I see he didn't remember Monday's Raw? He didn't remember Tuesday's SmackDown, and he didn't remember traveling to Wednesday's event?
Yeah, he had lost a few days, which is really, really bad.
That's big time serious.
Yeah.
And I worry for any of these guys after seeing the documentary Head Games. And I forgive me if I've talked about this already on an earlier podcast, but it's important enough where I think it's worth a second mention. You can see it on Netflix. I believe it's still on Netflix Instant. Head Games. One of the main players in that movie is Chris Nowinski, the former Harvard football player and WWE
Tough Enough,
wrestler and Tough Enough contestant. Yep. Chris works at Boston University right now in a department that studies traumatic brain injuries, and they collect the brains of the deceased. Obviously, they don't collect the brains of the living.
Yeah,
but they contact the family members of football players and pro athletes, boxers, and try to get them to agree to donate their brains when they die or if they've recently died. And they look for CTE, which is this degenerative disease found in the brains of many people who have suffered head trauma. It's been found in quite a few of the former football players who have committed suicide. And every time now, since seeing that documentary 4 or 5 months ago, when I watch wrestling on TV, or any sport, but especially wrestling, and I see certain landings, certain moves, certain things to the head, I think that's a concussion. And I mean, everything, just about, if I smacked you on the head, or if you smacked me on the head, that would be a concussion. There's different levels of severity, but still, it's a concussion. And I think about the kick that Ziggler suffered to the head from Swagger. I badly want to blame Swagger because he's very sloppy in the ring. Yeah. And just that night when we recorded last Tuesday, we recorded when SmackDown was going on, so we had no idea that was happening. But I had mentioned last week that when Del Rio was in the ring with Swagger and Ziggler, Swagger swung that ladder, and it looked like he hit Ziggler, and he after seeing the replay, he didn't. Yeah. But I thought he just looked sloppy. He looks like he can't be trusted. He looks green, and he looks uncomfortable in his body, like he doesn't know how to control it. And sure enough, I mean, it could have just been a coincidence that maybe Ziggler got too close, whatever. But I went back and watched SmackDown for the first time, already knowing that Ziggler had been injured, and saw, well, when did this happen? And I thought, holy crap, this is where it happened. And I watched it again and again. And then he took 2 more severe shots to the head. Yeah. When I saw him go down from that first kick and roll out of the ring, I thought, okay, he's not going to move. And then he gets back in the ring and starts... I can only figure that what he was doing was just on autopilot. Yeah. But to take the shots he took, I think did he take a kick to the head from Del Rio?
Del Rio. And did he take a ladder shot?
He had to take a ladder. I think he took a ladder. I know he took 3 total shots to the head. And, it's just... I worry for any of those guys and gals, but for him to go as hard as he does and to be doing as well as he is, I mean, I would hate to see this cut his career or life short, and it's scary.
You can look in wrestling's own recent history where Bret Hart, going good, what was it, 99, right around then?
Yeah, it would have been
2000.
I think it might have been it was 2000, I think.
And Goldberg, not anyone's fault, just caught him with a foot to the head. Bret didn't get his hands up in time or whatever.
Although Goldberg has been accused of being very green.
Oh, that's true. It's same as Swagger, Yeah. So we don't know what was going on there, but he gets a huge concussion, ends up having a stroke later on. Never wrestles again. Yeah. And it can go that quickly, even for one of the greatest of all time. So, I really hope Ziggler is okay, and I love watching him in the ring, and he just had his huge moment, and Raw after Mania, and hopefully he'll be okay and can keep going with the success. So
I hope so, and I know, just guessing. So I guess I don't know, but just guessing based on how hard he does work, he's going to want to come back as soon as possible. I really hope he doesn't rush it. I hope WWE doesn't put pressure on him to rush him. Yeah. Maybe if they had, and we can get into it later here with the pay-per-view, but maybe if they had kind of like an interim champion or something, I don't want to see him stripped of his title. And if they could just have him be the champion and not worry about that belt for a while, that'd be nice, because I think he deserves to keep it. But I don't want him to hurry back. I want him to take as much time as possible.
Well, and they had a golden opportunity to kind of set it up for him to be away for a while, but instead they announced that it's still going to be Swagger, it's still going to be Del Rio, no other competitor. It's not going to be a ladder match anymore, but it will be for the number 1 contender match in a... What was it?
I Quit match.
An I Quit match. Okay, so what I was hoping, and I had actually told some people about this before, was that they would replace Ziggler with Big E Langston, and he would basically be wrestling for Ziggler. And if he won the match, Ziggler would still be World Heavyweight Champion. If he lost the match, he would not. That could set up the feud between Langston and Ziggler either way. You cost me my championship, we're fighting now. Or, Big E's mad because he basically won the championship. He should be champion, so he has a right to that belt as well. They could have set up another feud. It would have been awesome. Instead, they go this route. And we'll see. I keep clapping. I need to stop doing that. But
your idea is amazing, and that's the route I wish they'd go. I don't know why they're not keeping it as a ladder match.
Yeah.
My initial thought was, okay, maybe they don't want to send this message that we're going to risk these other two guys suffering a similar fate. But an I Quit match essentially is just as bad because you're trying to do whatever you can to your opponent to get them to say I quit.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there will be some kind of shots to the head.
And has a heel ever won an I Quit match without cheating? I know The Rock won when he had the
recording.
Mankind's recorded.
Which I believe was the first I Quit match, at least the first WWE I Quit match. I watched that pay-per-view. That was awesome.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
So that was a good twist, but like we know Del Rio's going to win. Del Rio's the face. He's got to face the heel Ziggler next. Again, no drama in the match at all, so I'm kind of upset with that.
I was just thinking what would be awesome, a great way to end it is if if Swagger does the same thing, or if we have like a Ricardo Rodriguez heel turn and they have him have a recording of Del Rio saying no Moss, playing off of of course, the Roberto Duran Sugar Ray Leonard fight where he said no Moss, which according to Duran he did not say. Duran claims he did not say that. When he was in Duluth a few years back, he was telling myself and some others that he never said that. So I don't know.
Of course he would say that,
yeah.
To be fair. Wow, we spent a lot of time on that announcement. We had a match. Kofi Kingston versus Damian Sandow, another kind of throwaway match. And Kofi dominated the majority of the match and got the win. He looked strong heading into Extreme Rules where he has to defend his title against Dean Ambrose. So that was logically, he should have been booked strongly, and he was. Then we had a Mark Henry interview with Josh Roberts.
Josh Matthews.
Oh, I wrote Roberts. Who's Josh
Justin Roberts? Justin is the announcer. Josh Matthews is the guy.
They're the same person.
Another former Tough Enough contestant. Josh Matthews.
Okay, well, shoot, I wrote this wrong. No, I have been aware of a strap match, but I didn't really understand.
That's Josh the Snake Roberts, by the way.
Yeah, with Damien the Snake. But the announcers did a pretty good job of explaining what it is, and apparently you need to touch all four ring posts. Is it in a row?
Yeah, without being interrupted.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they have a lot of false finishes in those matches where the guy's going to get the fourth one, he gets tugged away or tripped. They're okay. This match, I'm not too excited. I don't get excited about many Sheamus matches.
Yeah.
I like Sheamus much more as a heel, but he's really, I think he's got to be. I don't know if you asked a little kid who their second favorite wrestler is, assuming John Cena's number one. I don't know if it'd be a tie between Sheamus or Orton, but Sheamus really plays up like that kid-friendly. I mean, he's kind of got that Ronald McDonald vibe going, so the kids love him.
I'm pretty sure this is what's going to happen. Henry looks dominant. You think he's going to win, and somehow Sheamus pulls it out. Right at the end, somehow, sneakily. And then Mark Henry gets really mad and gives him the world's strongest slam. This whole feud they've done, what is it? They've been pulling trucks. They've been
tug of war,
arm wrestling, whipping each other. There's been no real wrestling.
No,
there's been nothing in the ring.
The only what I think will happen is I think Henry will win. And I think that this will all be to show how strong he is, and then they'll give him that push that they seem to want to give him a month ago with that number one contender match against Cena. I see him getting more out of a victory than Sheamus, where I think if Sheamus is kind of in that Cena territory where it doesn't matter if he wins or loses, he continues to get opportunities for titles and everything, and he's always in the picture. And since we have a heel world champion, I think Sheamus could be in contention for that at some point, and then I think Henry would go with a victory into the WWE title hunt. Assuming John Cena keeps the title Sunday, that'll be another story.
Possibly. So yeah, it was just kind of I don't know. It's stupid. We had another match, and Raw. I don't know. Like a couple weeks ago, I was talking about how awesome it was to have 3 really good matches. Tonight, we didn't really have more than one. I mean, the Shield match was pretty good, but every match was kind of a squash or just kind of throwaway match.
To me, it was the matchups. I mean, they were. But again, look, they're setting up for the pay-per-view, and typically these shows before pay-per-view are kind of throwaways.
Yeah.
And I mean, certainly the entertainment value still can be there, but really everything's kind of focused on. I mean, their eyes are on Sunday already.
Yeah. One of the matches that looked good or promising at the beginning was Cesaro versus Orton, and that turned into an Orton, RKO out of nowhere. Gets a win. I assumed that would happen, but they had a really, really good match on main event recently, so I thought they could really go at it for 15 minutes maybe, but it only lasted a couple minutes, I think. So that was disappointing. We had a Miz versus Heath Slater match right after. The Miz, coming back after a while. Was it like a month or more? Mm-hmm. He was filming his movie. He gets to win with the figure 4, of course. But, it's good to see Miz back in the ring. Maybe they can find something for him to do. Then we got to probably what should have been the main event, but it wasn't. We had Team Hell No and John Cena versus The Shield. And I thought this was an awesome match. It was an elimination match, which is pretty rare. But, of course, they protected everyone with disqualifications and countouts and stuff. Mm-hmm. But the Shield got Team Hell No eliminated, and it was down to John Cena, and injured John Cena as that. And John Cena won. The Shield lost their first match.
By DQ.
First match ever, regardless whether it was DQ or pin or whatever.
First TV match.
Yes.
Because they've lost by DQ on several house shows.
I believe that, because they want to send the crowds home happy, but first time on television, pay-per-view, anything, that the Shield has lost at all.
Mm-hmm. I think the way they set it up, at least in their minds, works because the Shield volunteered that defeat by entering the ring and getting disqualified. You had to know the result was going to be what it was, even when it was 1-on-3.
Yeah. When it was down to just Cena and them, I'm like, oh, here we go. He rips off his, Clark Kent, outfit. He takes his glasses off, goes into the phone booth, Out comes Super Cena, and he was able to overcome the Shield.
Unstoppable.
Yeah, it's weird that they can't beat Cena alone, but when it's Cena and Orton and Sheamus, the Shield just dominates and they can win that. But not Cena alone. No.
Not by himself.
But it was a hell of a match. It was really good. I liked it a lot. Daniel Bryan was flying around. Anytime he gets in the ring, he's like Texas Tornado, he's crazy. He's a crazy man. He goes. I love it.
He's looked amazing the last couple of months. He's always looked good, but he continues to rise more and more.
Yeah.
I think that his ability has made them good guys.
Yeah.
I mean, they had that Dr. Shelby bit, of course, but for a long time they could have gone either way with that. And I think that it's Daniel Bryan's ability and his charisma, which he was I don't want to say pigeonholed for. I don't know how much of it's manufactured, but on the first season of NXT, that was their gripe about him, was that, the independent scene doesn't mean anything. You're nothing until you make it in WWE. You have no charisma. That was what they kept telling him, and I don't know if he played it up like, okay, yeah, I don't, but I mean, he's incredibly charismatic. He's good at everything.
He's so over with the crowd too. Like, even when he was doing the no, everyone still wanted to do the yes, and they're still doing the yes. And he brought it back at WrestleMania, which was awesome, and the crowd was totally loving it. And he could go on to any feud right now, and it would be a hot feud because they want to see Daniel Bryan and see what happens. And that's why I'm kind of excited for them to actually probably drop the titles this month. They can have their little feud maybe between Kane and Bryan, but see where Bryan goes from here. And I could see him challenging for a World Heavyweight Championship legitimately. I know he's won it before, but he was never really a legit he won it Money in the Bank, and then he won it weirdly. But I could see him actually like pinning, submitting people like Benoit used to.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to see what happens after Team Hell No kind of evaporates. So yeah, we got our Super Cena, and then Ryback comes out because the Shield jumped Cena after the win, give him the triple power bomb, and then Ryback comes out for Ryback Rules, and he hit the ankle of Cena with a steel chair, of course, because he's got the bad Achilles, although it didn't look like it affected him at all during the match. Not even one iota.
What do you know?
Yeah. And I put up... did you see this?
No.
Sorry, this is some good radio. I put up a meme. It was John Cena. I don't always win. What the fuck am I talking about? Of course I always win.
I think Ryback needs to be more physical. Leading up to this pay-per-view, he wasn't, and they keep saying the word monster, but he wasn't the threat that he should be. If you're really that pissed off and you're that much of a badass, you don't go out there and talk. You don't go out there and listen to your opponent talk. You beat the piss out of him, and you beat the piss out of everybody. What they could have had is, they used to do it with Austin. So, of course, it's a different situation because he was a good guy, and it got the crowd even more excited. But if they would have Ryback come out, for one episode of Raw, he would just come out and beat up the good guy involved in every match, that would send a message that this guy is going to be the guy to take on your boy, your hero, John Cena. Yeah. That's what they need to do with this guy. Not have him talk, which he's not really good at, or take the garbage that his opponent is spewing at him. Just go in the ring,
kick some ass,
walk up to the guy, smash him in the skull, and leave. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying smash him in the skull. I just went on that concussion rant, but it's a figure of speech.
Well, everyone gives a Goldberg chance to him.
Yeah.
Goldberg would just run in, spear somebody to hell, and leave. And he'd be done, and the crowd would go fucking crazy. He's got his meat hook clothesline. Why not run in, hit someone with that, finish him, give him the shell shock, and leave? That's all you got to do. People would be like, oh, man. Like, Cena's done for, I don't know. They could do a lot of things differently with Ryback. I think that's a good one. So, they had a match for Big E Langston earlier when we had the announcement from Teddy Long. And basically he left it up to the WWE Universe to decide his opponent, be it Alberto Del Rio or Jack Swagger. 65% of the people picked Jack Swagger to face Big E Langston, and I think they weren't expecting that. Even the announcers didn't really know what to say about the match, because they're like, well, I'm really surprised here that Del Rio isn't in the match, because now they have two heels going against each other, and the crowd didn't know who to cheer for. So it was really an odd situation. So I don't know if they're going to keep doing this kind of voting.
I wonder, anytime something like that goes on, I wonder how much of it's legitimate.
Yeah.
I thought that, I think it was real, because I thought, okay, if this is real, Swagger should get the nod because people want to see him get destroyed. Because people love Ziggler, and people want to see Swagger pay for what he did. But I thought, no, it's going to go to Del Rio. They're going to give it to Del Rio for what you said. Heel versus face, they are pushing the shit out of Del Rio. And when it was 65, I thought, okay, it probably is real. Because even if Swagger did win, it probably would have been like, 52-48 or 54.
I was really surprised by that. I thought maybe they had a smart convention and they all hopped on their iPhones and brought up the app and voted quickly.
Although one thing they need to change is, and look, I work with computers, and I know things don't always work when you want them to, and it's frustrating. And you have people pushing up their glasses going, oh, you should do this, and you guys suck. But they should have the voting ready at the time that they make the announcement.
Yeah.
Instead of having the announcers have to stall and be like, well, you can't vote yet, but tune in later.
Sometime you might.
Get your stuff in order, get it done an hour before the show, or don't do it at all. Yeah.
Why not have a triple threat match. Like, what's the big deal? Why do we need fans to vote?
Yeah, and I don't care if Bobby Sue wants to have Jack Swagger in that match. I don't care.
No.
Just give me the match.
You got 15 writers in the back who could come up with a match. Let them figure it out. They're the ones who are paid to do this kind of stuff.
The silver lining and all that, though, I love seeing Langston fight. And the more he's on, the better.
He was in the Patriot lock, and his legs. Oh my! They're like a chicken leg, only exploded. It's so thick at the top. It's unbelievable.
He looks like Bane from the goofy Batman.
Yeah, the terrible Tim Burton one,
the cartoony type Bane. That's what he looks like.
Yeah, he really does.
And that's a compliment, Biggie. I know you're listening.
And this was kind of strange too. Biggie Langston lost his first match as well tonight. So we had two of the hottest heel, performers in the company both lose their first matches on the same Raw.
He did he lose?
He was counted out.
Okay, that's right. It was a count
out. So of course, I figured Swagger would win, but you got two hot guys here. It was kind of I thought I was expecting a better match. And Dolph Ziggler tweeted out, because the crowd was dead for the match because it's two heels. Ziggler tweets, "Wow, I thought it was the Beatles playing the Ed Sullivan show, but it's just old Del Rio," because Del Rio came running out, and he goes #hot crowd. So he was kind of sticking it to the dubs there. And then we had our first Diva sighting of the night, AJ versus Natalya, with the Bellas and the Funkadactyls on. Were the Funkadactyls on? No, Caitlyn.
No.
It was Caitlyn.
Yeah, it was Caitlyn.
And the Bellas on commentary.
Her gift.
Yeah. They didn't even show what the gift was.
It was like a Simpsons trivia or something.
Oh.
But yeah, it didn't really make sense. And you have the Bellas talking when... I don't know if they get lines, but if they did, they were walking all over each other the whole time. And you can't understand what any of them are saying. They don't have replies to the other because what the person said to them is so nonsensical and stupid.
Speaking of talking over things, did you hear twice during the broadcast? I heard people talking just into the mic, the announcer's mic, and it sounded like the people in the back, how they have earphones to Triple H and Vince and stuff, and it sounded like, say that they're going to do this, and it sounded like Triple H, and I'm like, I was looking around like, Lord?
I didn't hear that.
It happened twice,
and I've already deleted it off my DVR, so I can't go back.
It was so bizarre. I thought it was hearing things.
Best thing about this match,
AJ Lee.
Oh yeah, don't forget, Conley and Hornswoggle were out there.
Oh yeah.
I'll say this: I'm a big fan of Natalya, but AJ is looking cut these days.
Yeah.
Her legs are just cut. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, and she debuted a new finishing move, the Black Widow, it's called, and I have a photo of that for you if you wanted to see. And
And Ziggler had a nice tweet about that too.
I'm sure he did.
Said something about poor Natalya. She doesn't know our safety word or something like that. Or our safe word.
I would not want to know the safe word if I was in that hold. I would just let it go.
All right, man.
Yeah, just saying.
Get out of my house.
Come on, dude. It's AJ Lee. Even my girlfriend agrees.
All right.
Yeah, you don't know.
This is a family podcast. No. Not really.
Nah. And then we had, I guess it's our main event, the Triple H and Brock Lesnar steel cage confrontation. I love this. I thought it was really great.
But we didn't get the old school cage.
No, we didn't. I was thinking about that too when they were lowering it down on Triple H. But I thought Triple H cut a good promo. It was kind of weird at some points. He's talking about love and hate, and he had to learn to hate, so he could own the ring. It reminded me of Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars.
Yeah.
Good. Release your anger. Let the hate flow through you. So that was kind of weird, but I thought it was a really good promo. Lesnar was really awesome. I didn't think he'd get it actually into the cage because they never kind of did that stuff. But he was Triple H kind of had a good point. He's like, you're afraid of me because if you lose, you have no credibility left. You came in here as a monster. You're 1-2. you lose to me again, guess what? No one's going to pay to see you, and you're in it for the money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he goes, you don't want to see me again, you know, because you know I can beat you.
Yeah, that's true.
And that really pissed off Brock, and you can tell.
And he called him a bitch, which was awesome.
Yeah, he did, which was great. And Paul Heyman was doing his thing, and they actually really got into it in the cage, and I loved it, and I thought it was great. Triple H throws Brock Lesnar through the door, and I thought it was really good. I'm really excited for the match now.
That's going to be. God, you think of last year? It was Extreme Rules last year, Cena versus Lesnar, right?
Yep.
This one could be. I have a feeling that Triple H is going to leave it all out there, and he'll take a pounding. This is going to be a great match.
I believe so too. Yeah. So that was Raw. I thought it was kind of blah. Most of the show was filler, but there were a couple of really good bright spots with the Triple H stuff and the Shield match. I really loved. So, you know, always something good to take out of the shows.
That's true. And we find the silver lining in everything.
And now we have our official card ready for Extreme Rules, so we're going to do our predictions now. The first match on the card is Miz versus Cody Rhodes, and that's in the YouTube pre-show match. I'll take the Miz just because he's returning, and they probably want to keep him hot after losing the title.
I say Miz goes over, get the people excited, people who are on the fence about the pay-per-view, and also they'll want to pump him up for his little movie.
Yeah. Next match we have Fandango versus Chris Jericho.
I say Jericho wins to even the score after WrestleMania, and it'll give them, I guess, maybe a little something to hold on to once Jericho goes away for a little while. Maybe he can come back and reignite a feud with Fandango down the road.
I'll take Jericho too, just because he lost, but Jericho's known for putting over guys, and I could see Fandango winning because he knows Fandango's going to be there for a long time, so this could really help him get over, and it would end the feud so Fandango can actually move on to bigger and brighter. Kingston versus Ambrose for the U.S. Championship.
I think I know what you're going to say here. I'm going to say the same thing, probably. Dean Ambrose will win this. I think that this will be the start of the Shield collecting some hardware.
Absolutely, and they're building Dean Ambrose. His first match was against The Undertaker. You know, not a lot of people can say that. He's basically the leader of the Shield. They need to get some gold. I think they're going to end up with a lot of gold tonight. I know we talked about Big E and Ziggy coming out with a lot of gold from WrestleMania, and we were completely wrong.
Yeah.
But I think this is the way they're going. They've been pushing these guys for a long time, and it's time. So
the U.S. title's been on too many guys where it's an afterthought.
Yeah.
Now the attention's already on Ambrose. Give him a belt. See what happens.
Yeah. Next up, we have our first real stipulation match is Alberto Del Rio versus Jack Swagger in an I Quit match for the number one contender for the World Heavyweight Championship.
If Ziggler was in this match and it was still a triple threat ladder, I'd say Ziggler wins. I love your scenario with Langston. I think that's perfect. I say Del Rio wins this one so he can have a feud with Ziggler.
I have to pick Del Rio just because he's the face, and he lost the title to Ziggler, and I don't think have they had a match. I think they've had a match since then.
They've had I think 2 matches,
but not for the title. So he hasn't really had his rematch yet.
Yeah.
So I think he's owed that, and I think that's the way they're kind of building it.
Unless they figure they'll go Swagger, and then he can face Ziggler for the title, and then Del Rio can say, whoa, I need my rematch. Then they have their triple threat match. But I'll stick with Del Rio as well.
Yeah. Next up we have Randy Orton versus Big Show, an Extreme Rules match.
I have to say Orton because Big Show, it doesn't matter if he's a babyface or a heel, if he's in tag team competition or singles, he's just kind of there, and it doesn't take much momentum to elevate him. I think they're going to get Randy Orton rolling again. He has that movie coming out, which, by the way, when did he go away to film that? Was it like 2 years ago when Wade Barrett threw him down the stairs? Was that one?
No, I think that was a wellness violation again. Okay. It might have been during that time, though. I don't know. Maybe that's when he films his movies. He starts smoking a little bit more and
either that
get some time off.
But he starts taking some juice. I'm going to go with Orton, though.
I'll take Orton as well because they have been building him. He's looked very strong lately. I am hoping that they're building him to main event level again because we talked about that before. We got our strap match with Henry and Sheamus.
I'm going to say Mark Henry. I think that the win would mean more to him for his character, and I think they are going to build him into maybe not a consistent main eventer, but a main eventer for the moment, main eventer for the summer. Cena needs guys to fight, and Henry, I think, will be one of the guys in line for that.
I'm going to pick Sheamus. He's been kind of floundering for a while. And they always build up this kind of payoff. They build a guy really strongly, make him look unbeatable, and then someone beats him. That's how they do things. And they've built Mark Henry to look like the strongest guy of all time, like he has been.
Yeah.
Like he's towing 2 tractors. He's beaten records in the bench press. So I think Sheamus somehow pulls it out sneakily. We got our tag team championship match with Texas Tornado match between Team Hell No and Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns from the Shield.
So many times I've thought Hell No would lose, and they haven't. They still have the belts. I have to say Shield, though. I think this will be, again, collect the belts. They have 2 chances here to grab 3 belts, and I think all of them will have something by the end of the night. To me, it makes sense. And if they were to lose here, even if it was a DQ, and there's no DQ actually,
no,
Texas Tornado rules, no DQs, no tags. I'm going to go with Shield.
I'm picking the Shield too. I think they'll isolate someone and then isolate the other one, and they've been shown that they can do that. With no DQs, maybe Dean Ambrose makes an appearance. So I think it's time for them to split. I think it's time for the Shield to step up. I love that we're actually excited about a tag team match for the first time in a long time. It's finally relevant after years of neglect. So I think this is going to be a really good match. But I am taking the Shield. Next up, we got Triple H versus Brock Lesnar in a steel cage match.
You got to go Lesnar. Triple H probably won't fight after this until
SummerSlam.
Maybe SummerSlam or maybe Survivor Series, but realistically, probably not until Mania. At least not something that matters. So I think Lesnar's going to have to win it because he's the guy. I mean, he's an attraction. You want him to be believable as this guy who can destroy anybody. If he loses twice in a row to Triple H, that kills everything.
I'm taking Lesnar too. I think they could build him to take on Cena if they wanted to. That could be a SummerSlam match, I think, for the championship. And it's been 11 years since Lesnar, 10 or 11 years.
Yeah.
Since Lesnar's been champion, just like The Rock, taking out so much time off. I'm taking Lesnar. I'm not sure how, but he'll win.
And Lesnar's a guy where, to me, you're doing your fans a disservice if he is ignoring the fact that those championships exist.
Yeah. I
mean, I know he's the wrestle for money, but in your head, for the storyline, for the show that is wrestling, the scripts and everything, he would be making more money as champion. And to me, that
and
would
they've
be
mentioned that on air recently. Have you heard? Have you got that?
Yeah.
They've talked about how the champ wins more. So maybe that's just a little squeak, a little foreshadowing into, he might be going for the championship soon because he is the money guy.
Mm-hmm.
Then our main event, of course, John Cena, WWE champ, against Ryback in a last man standing match.
Shield is rumored to be involved in this.
I thought you were going to pick the Shield to win.
Shield's rumored to be involved in this and rumored to be involved with Ryback. I think the way you have to go is that Ryback wins. And that it's maybe with the help of the Shield, and they can form this big bad guy faction, have some gold, But they've never been shy about giving Cena some little runs here and there. So it's not unrealistic to think that he will drop the title Sunday. But my official pick is Ryback.
I'm going to take Cena just because it's you can lose a lot of money picking against Cena. So I'm taking Cena. One of our listeners, Andy, he had an interesting idea. What if the Shield comes out and they attack both of them, and they leave them, and it's a double count out? They both get the 10 count. I think that's it's pretty likely, just because they can protect both guys. They can get another main event out of it, build it for what's it called now? Payback.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see that happening, but I'm taking Cena. I just don't see him losing it at 1 month after defeating The Rock at WrestleMania for the championship. I just don't see that happening, so I'm taking Cena.
I was thinking today that with that draw scenario, that I just don't see a draw happening at a pay-per-view, but we saw it last year with CM Punk and John Cena. There was a draw.
We saw it 2 years ago in the main event of WrestleMania, double count out with Miz and Cena.
That wasn't a double count out.
Well, and then The Rock restarted the match.
Yeah. But officially, yeah. It was a pinfall.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll do that. I think with a last man standing match, you can have a winner and a loser, and the loser has an excuse already. I mean, there are so many ways he could be pinned down to allow him to not get up, or to not allow him to get up, I should say. So my pick is Ryback, but I would never be shocked if Cena wins.
Yeah. So those are our predictions. Now we got to get to predictions sure to go wrong, and you had a scenario that you wanted to, and I haven't heard this yet, so I'm excited. I'm going to sit back.
My scenario is that the Shield will win the U.S. and tag titles, and that Ryback will win the WWE title. He'll either do it on Sunday, or we could have our draw, or just a straight up win by Cena. But then the next night, you could have Cena forced to give up the championship because of his injury. He's beaten so badly by Ryback and the Shield, or maybe just Ryback. But I'm going to go with all four. All four guys are going to beat up Cena. They're going to beat him up so bad that he's going to have to forfeit his championship. And they'll either give it to Ryback, or since they have, I guess, since the guys in charge are good right now, that being Triple H and I guess Vince McMahon to some extent, they would have a tournament, or they would have, a number one contender match or something like that. Like maybe they'll have Henry versus Ryback or somebody. It could be anybody. It doesn't matter who. But that Ryback will get the title the next night or something. So that way you have four guys, 4 belts. And then what I'd like to see is that you have AJ defeat Caitlyn for the Divas title, which, by the way, that's at Extreme Rules, right?
Yeah, we didn't. Yeah. It wasn't on the list.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's just say it happens. My pick is AJ.
My pick is AJ as well.
So AJ has that title. Dolph has the World Heavyweight title. And maybe Langston wins the IC title, since that's kind of floating around in irrelevance right now with Wade Barrett.
Oh, Barrett. Yeah.
And I'd like Barrett to be relevant, but he's not. No. So like Langston gets those belts. So you have gold versus gold. They occupy all of the championships. And right now, they would both be heels, but this would put them in a feud together. And then you're thinking, well, why would the WWE champion fight the world champion? Well, they'd start this feud because they both have all the gold, and they could argue about who's better and whatever. You could have Ziggler and Big E fight for the tag titles against those Shield guys, Rollins and Reigns, and this would eventually elevate Ziggler to the crazy superstar babyface status that he will achieve someday soon.
Yeah.
And
I'd love their group to turn face. I think they have a lot of qualities of a face. Big E Langston's hilarious.
And that's the other part. You give him an opportunity to express himself and let people get to know him, because he's hysterical. I follow him on Twitter, not because he's a wrestler. I follow him because he's hilarious.
Yeah.
And
people love AJ.
And you can go myriad directions after this. One could be you could split up Ziggler and Big E. Well, that gives Big E a reason to become a monster heel at some point. Mm-hmm. So you could go either way. I'd like to see that. Now, the problem with that, of course, is that you're putting all of your stock, the stock being the championships, in one pile, one feud, one segment. And where does that leave everyone else?
That would be good for like Survivor Series. Mm-hmm. Building up to that, and then I think that'd be really cool.
But that right there is what I'd like to see. I think they could make it work, even though a lot of other people would be fighting, with no titles at stake. But
they never had a problem with that before, though. They haven't done the double titles kind of stuff. It used to happen all the time. You'd have Stone Cold be a tag team champion and the WWE champion, or vice versa, Intercontinental and tag team.
Well, every few years they bust out that the guys feuding for the main title, the WWE title, end up being like reluctant tag team champions, because they're forced to fight in a match. They do that every once in a while, but because didn't Miz and Cena were tag champions?
Were they?
2 years ago, and then I think in the match where they were the defending champions, Miz walked out like in the middle of the match to screw Cena over. Yeah,
of course.
But that won't happen. But that's what I want to see.
It could happen, and I like it. I can see why you got an interview for WWE booking at one point.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
What's your scenario? I don't know either.
Well, I just kind of made it up, and you kind of gave me an idea, and it involves CM Punk. And coming in to help Brock Lesnar defeat Triple H in the steel cage match, whether it be forcing Triple H, like push him back into the ring like he's about to go over, or slamming the door shut on him, something to come back to a huge pop because people are missing CM Punk right now. They want him back for Chicago's pay-per-view next month.
You're doing that thing with your hands again.
I'm sorry, yeah. It's because I was thinking about AJ and stuff later. No, they want CM Punk back because it's in Allstate Arena in Chicago next month. So that could build to a feud between him and Triple H, or wherever you want to go with it. And they really, really want CM Punk back, and I do too. Which would become the super group with Lesnar and CM Punk. And they could dominate for a while. They could go after Cena. They could go after the title. And then one of them wins it, and then they want a feud because, CM Punk wants that belt. He had it for a long time. He even said, I want that one when The Rock, debuted it. So I could see Lesnar maybe winning against Cena at SummerSlam and then turning into a feud between him and Punk leading into maybe Survivor Series or something like that. For the WWE Championship. And then I could see CM Punk winning that and then taking the belt into WrestleMania as champion again.
What I like about that is they already have a name. Paul Heyman, guys.
Yeah.
Be a great tag team name. And CM Punk's feud with Triple H could be stemming from Triple H saying, you just walked out, you come back, you cost me this, the biggest match of my life, because every match is the biggest match of their life.
Of course.
And then he says, you walked out on me and the company, and you cost us millions of dollars. Mm-hmm. Or, people came here, they wanted to see CM Punk, and you didn't show up. You didn't show up to our tours, you didn't show up to our house shows, whatever. Our WWE live events. And that right there, you have...
That you could trash Lita because they're dating. Maybe bring Lita into the fold, too. Did you not see CM Punk?
Yeah, but okay. I'm just, like, Triple H would just like randomly
not
shit on Lita.
Not CM Punk. Paul Heyman or someone else could shit on Lita.
Why would Paul Heyman?
Or who are you saying?
It's Triple H.
Triple H.
Because Triple H, as a representative of the company, saying you're one of our stars, and you walked away.
Triple H should be like, you walk away, go to the movie premieres with Lita, stuff like that. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah.
Or he could say with Matt Hardy's sloppy seconds.
Yeah, like exactly. I think that'd be really cool because Lita hasn't been on TV in a long time, and with her dating CM Punk, I think
she was on I think the last time she was on when they were doing like that Legends thing, she came and beat Heath Slater, right?
Yeah, that's right. And that was leading up to 28, I believe. So that's So yeah, that's my angle.
I like it.
We're right a little past 1 hour, so we hit pretty good.
Not bad.
Let us know what you think of our angles. Let us know your predictions for Extreme Rules. And be sure to follow us on Twitter. We got Immortals at Immortals PCast, at 97Bush, at Jimmy Bellamy. We also have our Facebook, our YouTube, and all that stuff.
If you know, I'm kind of getting out of, for the moment, I'm losing my ADD and focusing on the show. But if you like the reaction, you like to tweet, you like to do all that stuff, follow Matt's Rapid Reaction. Every Monday night during Raw, he has something going on. It's just at podcastoftheimmortals.wordpress.com. Or if you want to quickly find something, just go to @ImmortalsPcast on Twitter. He's going to post tweets there, and easily you'll be able to find links to what he's writing. And it's good stuff. It's right away as you're going in. It's a good second screen experience.
Yeah, I update it as it's going on. I try and be funny, which is tough for me because I'm not a comedian.
You succeed, sir. You succeed.
I try to have at least 5 spelling errors, so if you can find them, you can win a little prize. So check it out. It is fun. I have a fun time doing it. But yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Pumped for next week. Post pay-per-view. Woo! See you boys.
Bye.
And girls.